What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Spider Web. I thought I'd take a little bit of a different direction for this video. A little bit more relatable, I think. So this is some of my Champ 2 gameplay. We're going to review two games that I was able to save as far as this tournament goes. Um, the team ended up winning the tournament, which is pretty cool. To be honest, left was really good. So you can see the team and some of the breakdown of the scores of the final match here. I did end up winning MVP in two of the games, but to be honest, I don't believe that was really largely due to me. I think it was left and Manflesh were really making a lot of plays, and I sort of facilitated a lot of the activity that they were creating. And so, why I think this video might be beneficial to watch is that I don't really have the best mechanics. I'm okay, I think, for a Champ 2 player. But I try to take a little bit more of the approach in regards to game sense. Maybe there's something that you can find that's beneficial, especially if you're a diamond player, a platinum player, or even like a champ player trying to continue to progress, where maybe you can sort of hear some of my thoughts or hear how I go about, certain situations, especially because it's something that you can probably do yourself. Sometimes when you look at videos, you see grand champs or SSLs, and there's just no way you can pull off any of the things that they're doing. But I would think, with some of the mechanics and some of the things that I do, particularly in these games, it's definitely stuff that you could do. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm going to show one of the games from, I believe it was the semifinals, and then I have one of the games from the finals themselves. Both games were very convincing wins. So you can see in this series in particular, we lost the first game 2-1, and then it was 5-0, and then 4-3 in the final match. So some pretty good games overall that were played. So let's just jump right into it. All right, so face off, nothing really fancy here. I just go for the back boost. We're going to just ultimately kind of hover into the play here, see what happens with the high bounce. Ball comes down. I think here, so something that was important that happened here. So my positioning is essentially just waiting to see what happens. My goal here is to see if this, is this just going to be a free goal? Once it's not, I have to leave. And I make a mistake here of hanging around way longer than I should. So my thought there was that left was going to hit this ball, but my misread was that it wasn't my ball to go for next. Like typically Manflesh should be in position to play this, and I need to leave. So ultimately you'll see where this impacts us. So I'm here, I'm good. I actually think I got too close. If I could be super critical about it, I should probably just be chilling like right here and just wait to see what happens. Ball drops down, he hits it, get out. And we see that left misses, which causes me to hesitate slightly, and I just play this so bad. So you get to enjoy just a horrible miss by me to start this game. Ironically, this was the only goal that they scored. But you can see Manflesh gets a little bit awkward here. You can see I get a little bit awkward here. Had I just left, everything would have been fine. I think the other thing, though, that could have been beneficial for me is instead of, sort of taking this path, which was my original plan, to recognize that the ball got a little bit too far in front of Alex, and I could have taken more of a path this way to where I would have had a better angle to play this ball out, and it would have been an easier read for me, especially, as a Champ 2 player. Like, plays like this happen, right? So this contact itself could have been a goal, right? There's no one back on defense for us. But the fact that he then hits it there should indicate to me that I have a little bit more time to reposition myself and take a little bit of a better angle towards this ball to where this wasn't as difficult for me to play. So ultimately a couple mistakes by me here that leads to the only goal of this game against us. So hopefully some good, learning takeaways as far as that goes. I do at least make up for it later. So, kudos to me for that. But face off, I don't do anything fancy, just regular. I don't have a speed flip, anything like that down at this point. Just all kind of going on game sense. Left makes a good play. He's centering. I'm feeling that Manflesh is playing as the 2 here, despite me being in further up position. I still think Manflesh has a better angle, so I choose not to go, and I end up being correct because Manflesh does go. A little bit of a double, but it's honestly fine at this rank, especially in this positioning, as long as we do it right. My goal here, just kind of play a double tap, try to make it awkward. I didn't really have anything because both my teammates committed. Trying to rotate wide, grab the boost, be annoying. The ball comes in. So I think this play here, I think this is kind of an important play. So especially like platinum or diamond or anything like this, I think so often it's easy on this ball to just dive in. But look at where they are, right? Like there's two of them right there. There's no way I'm going to score this, right? Like it's almost impossible. So me flipping here is pretty useless. And I would say that's something to just be mindful of. I really only jumped just to kind of get a hit on him. You really didn't even have to do that. Like you could have just did a drive challenge and just rotate out immediately. But just something to be like aware of. You shouldn't be flipping or committing to plays where it's just clearly not going to be a goal, right? It doesn't do anything for your team, and it doesn't kind of alleviate any pressure or anything like that. So now this ball, I should rotate to back post, but I see that left is sort of speed flipping. He's totally like moving out of the play, right? So I didn't want to give Alex too much space. So my goal here is to just kind of be annoying. And I'm going to eventually rotate to back post, but I didn't want to just give Alex free reign to do whatever he wanted, especially if left was leaving, and I know Manflesh was back. I didn't want to leave him hanging. Left does a good job of turning on that, and my positioning is rewarded with a free ball. So it was a good job by left ultimately here to create some pressure, and ultimately my positioning here did fine to be able to keep the pressure on. What I wish I would have done in this position was taken off ball cam, because I did okay to beat the first guy on this, but I didn't really have enough control to continue to facilitate any activity or any pressure. And I think if I would have taken off ball cam, I would have been a little bit better in terms of controlling that ball. But ends up being okay. Left almost scores. Manflesh ends up scooping up the boost, which is fine. So this touch by Alex, I can see that Manflesh is basically in a position to kind of block Alex's momentum, at least. So my goal here is think about grabbing the boost in the back left, but don't leave too early because Alex, he's not going to be able to start an air dribble here. The ball's on the ground, right? So there's not really a ton that's going to happen here that's going to immediately threaten us, at least in my point of view. So I'm going to kind of wait and see what happens. He ends up kind of chipping it, which makes this easy for me. And again, I don't have a ton of boost, but I can see that there's a lot of space on the far side of the field, and that's probably where my boost is going to be. So my thought here is to just try to kind of soft touch it and just get it across to where there's space, because then I can ultimately use that space to my advantage, which ends up working out well, and I get a free ball up on the wall, which is good. That first touch was really rough, so I tried to pop this up a little bit higher. My goal at that point is to just kind of chase it. I end up getting a block, which makes the play a little bit awkward, and at Champ 2, sometimes that just leads to a goal. So I'm kind of happy about that. 1-1. We're able to tie the game up. So here, just trying to block. Don't want to allow anything quick. Just going for the boost grab there. Left is going to go, so I'm going to stay back. Slightly awkward, but it ends up being fine. End up taking a position where if something happens, I'm in a position to help facilitate the team. I could also see that left is kind of wanted to take the 2 position, so I just allow him to. So as he goes, he has having a little bit of a hard time getting away from Alex. So I see that, and I recognize that I'm probably going to have to fill this void, which ends up being fine. So Manflesh trying to make a centering pass, ends up going there. This is over my head, so it's not really worth it for me to play. I think I take a quick peek just to see if left is back on this side, because I remember that he got demoed up here. So I wanted to see if he spawned on this side or if this was my ball. Since he did, I let him hit. We take the 2 position, just kind of waiting for the ball to potentially come back to us. My thought here, I could have done a better job to position myself a little bit higher up on the wall. So when I say that, maybe just a little bit more angled to the left so that I was in better position to play that ball. My goal here was to smack this off the wall and potentially center it for Manflesh. I didn't know exactly where he was, but I was hoping he would be just a little bit closer than that and maybe, continue to create some offense. So that was the intent of that touch there. Ultimately didn't work out, but didn't really hurt us either. So I see left goes, and I also see that Manflesh wisely is following this up just to make sure that nothing is sort of happening. But because I saw Manflesh do what he did, I decided to cut him. So I end up going second here. Even though typically I would rotate behind him, because of what he did, that made more sense for me to just fill the void. And I think this is perfect offense, I think. Like, left does such a good job of hitting this ball, trying to play it once more, and then look at left. Like, he kills it on this play, I feel like. Hit the ball, grab the boost, get the fuck out. And that rotation is what allows us to play fast. So my goal in this position is just to try to hit it off into the back wall, because I remember from being back here that Manflesh is going to be the 3 behind me. And so my goal is to try to pass this to him in some way. So I end up hitting it not exactly where I wanted, but it was awkward enough based on the defense and where they were. Now, honestly, I could have just scored if you look at the net itself, but I just assumed that someone would be in better position to play that ultimately, which I guess was on me. But this ends up being a really good pass to Manflesh, who's rotating perfectly behind it. And the defense got a little bit awkward and ended up not being able to be in position to make a play. So good offensive rotation by us to keep the pressure going. Face off, won by Manflesh. I just grabbed boost. Almost a ridiculous double tap, and I'm going to say our team during this whole tournament run made some ridiculous plays and passes and everything else. So left was smart to play this close, because there was a legitimate shot that Manflesh hit that and double tapped it and potentially did something with it. But because the ball is now over left's head, I'm going to keep the pressure on by going up to play, despite the fact that I'm the 3. And Manflesh, really nice redirect here. Smart, like, heads-up play to stay active and watch the ball. Here, this is a botch play by me, so I'll kind of let it go. I wish I had this play back, but I just got a little bit too close. So you can see ultimately what ends up happening. And you can see it all happening on my screen, too, which is what makes this even more unfortunate, is, like, no one is available in net for blue, and Hoke ends up getting, like, stuck in the net. So this is another example where had I just taken, like, a wider angle, I could have easily, like, just popped this ball back into the center for left, who would have been available for, like, an easy dunk. And Manflesh is even kind of coming in as well. So that's kind of an unfortunate one for me. I got a little bit too tight on the ball, and then it ends up being awkward. So there's a couple options that you can have here. One is to try, if you're good enough, to just bring this up the wall here and maybe just try to center it that way. The other, though, is what I chose to do, which is far less mechanical and, you know, requires a little bit less skill. And that is just kind of be a nuisance to lose the ball on purpose. Because as long as my team can read what's happening here, blue is going to hit the ball to us, which is exactly what ends up happening. So my positioning here is not going to create any further offensive pressure because I fucked this up, right? Like, I did this and I failed. What you don't want to do is compound the issue by continuing to make a mistake. So my goal here is to just be annoying and then just leave. Like, let him hit it into us. And Manflesh ends up being in perfect positioning for that. And now we sort of, like, regained the pressure again. So he hits, left hits. I think on this one, I did get a little bit too close. And we'll see where this comes into play later. I should have just waited, like, here. This would have been fine. Mainly because if Alex ends up hitting this again, then maybe it's coming up the wall. Or, you know, in this case, if left does what they do, I'm in perfect position to play that, but I got a little bit too close. And that's a read I need to do better at. I'm here just playing with a little bit of patience because I didn't want to, you know, just slap it into the side wall or something like that to recenter it for them. So I end up getting a hit, keeping it safe and keeping, you know, the pressure off. So here, they're both kind of moving at me. So my thought, again, I don't need to commit or flip or do anything. I just want to hit it away from where they are and utilize the side wall. So just popping it there. He ends up outplaying himself, which ends up working out fine for me. My thought here, I was hoping that Hoke was going to go for that ball. which he never did. So kudos to his patience. I couldn't see him, but I was hoping if I just hit it off the wall, then Manflesh would be there for an easy goal, which he would have been, but Hoke defended this nicely. So kudos to Hoke on good patience on this play. In hindsight, I could have looked, but I wanted to move quickly and see if we can make a play. So didn't end up working out. Rotating back-to-back post. That's mine to play. He ends up actually bumping me there, but it ended up working out fine. He wasn't really in great position to do anything with it anyway. So here I'm recognizing that left is sort of tied up with Hoke a little bit, and Manflesh is up in the air. So I want to say I'm stalling this, even though there's nothing to really stall. Like, I don't have the ball or anything, but I'm not diving at this ball super aggressive because I'm recognizing that there's probably a possibility that I need to come back and play defense. And what I don't want to do is go full throttle, balls to the wall, and flip and commit into this and miss. And, you know, we're out of position defensively. So it ends up just working out that he hits it directly into my car. My goal with what I was doing here was to see, like, if he soft touched it, could I get in his face and maybe hit him? If he popped it up in the air, could I hit him? If he popped it up in the air, could I turn around quickly and maybe get in position to play the net? But what I didn't want to do was just fly and dive and commit at this, mainly because of what I was seeing here. Like, that just initial play by us was a little bit suspect as far as defense goes, and I just got lucky that he hit it right into me. So that was not something that was by design, but it worked out. Trying to keep the pressure. He kind of did my job for me. Left almost smoked it, so that was good. Here I was a little bit awkward because I thought that Manflesh was coming. So I thought this next ball was Manflesh, and I didn't realize until right now that he's leaving. He's not playing this. So my positioning was a little bit awkward because clearly if he was coming from the mid, he would have had a much better angle than I did. So I wanted to leave this for him. But because he never came, then I sort of slow play it. And then that ball right here. So I think this is another one too when we talk about you don't need to commit, right? So I'm in this position. I think maybe let's say the best case scenario for me, if we were to say what would be the most desirable outcome here, they have a guy in net who's pretty solidly in net. I'm not going to be able to get around this and eventually make a play. And I can see that Alex is aiming the ball hard towards, my left side wall. So if he hits it, I'm okay with that. It's not like I'm not worried if he ends up hitting the ball. It's not. If anything, it benefits us because I know that Manflesh is not here now, but I know that he will be here shortly. So I can recognize that from just playing a couple games with him. So at this point, ideal for me is if I just hit this into that corner straight ahead, then that works out great. If Alex ends up hitting it to the other side, I'm fine with that too. So, but I think this is another scenario where don't commit. I don't need to flip. I don't need to commit myself. Like, what am I going to gain if I flip into this ball like really heavy? Maybe it rolls into the wall as opposed to something else. Just drive into it. That's fine. And we end up getting like a little pop. There was maybe a world in which we scored that, which would have been kind of crazy. But ultimately, he hits it to the side, and there's my teammate, right? So just kind of recognition of what's happening. So I know that I'm thinking Manflesh is going to be here now, but since he's not, okay, he's going to be available for the next one. So just let it go. And Manflesh is the next on it. We keep possession of the ball. This is sick, by the way, from left. I just want to point out, so this dude made some good plays. I just want to show you when he goes up. Right now, he's in the air. Like, that's crazy. This is such a good read. So this dude comes from literally outer space to be like, yep, we're scoring. Good night. I mean, how sick is that? So that's where I say, like, yeah, okay, I won MVP in some of these things and for the final game, but left could play, man. Left could play. We had some good games with this team, that's for sure. So 3-1. This is my ball to play because I have boost. And really the objective here is just to get it out of harm's way. I should definitely be able to beat him every time. And then here I'm just trying to hover to potentially hit it. Go grab boost. Man flash almost snipes it. Left with a pop. And then so here, like, I think this is another good example. What am I going to do if I jump up and hit this? If anything, it's maybe going into the backboard. But clearly Merc is going to beat me to this ball, right? So I think about jumping. There's a moment where I think about jumping. But change your mind, right? Like, don't commit to a bad idea if it's a bad idea. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get... No, don't do it. Just stay down. I didn't use any boost, didn't do anything. And just leave. It wasn't meant to be. But... now I have boost. Imagine if I would have just jumped up in the air. I'm completely out of the play. I lose all my boost. It's just not worth it. Just rotate back. It's cool. And so I end up being first on for this. And so, again, perfect example. So I'm first on. I know my teammates are in net. If you look at their positioning right now, I just know. I don't even have to look. They're back there. They're back there. They're going to be in position. That's fine, right? So they're there. So I don't need to dive at this ball. I just don't need to. And I have a strong assumption that somebody's going to be right here. But if I smack this ball into the side wall, how does that benefit us? Like, it doesn't. And if he smacks this ball into the corner right now, go ahead. Do your thing. It ends up centering out and... okay, we had two guys in net. We had Manflesh up on the backboard and left was there. Like, we're all good. Everything's covered. So just think about that when you're playing. Like, you don't have to commit to everything or uselessly commit to plays that just don't make any sense. I'm trying to bring up the rear here. I think my positioning as 3 here is really good. I'm personally content with this. My issue is this touch. I wish I would have soft touched this to the right. And this is like a classic... this is a play that probably scores in Diamond, and this is where I have to sort of relearn the game, right? But a soft touch to the right here sets up left so much better to be able to maintain some kind of a play and maintain pressure. I end up just hitting this ball to the goalie, which is unfortunate. Go grab boost. Kind of rotating out but staying in the play. Again, I don't need to commit to this, right? So I'm going to be available in the event that something happens, but I don't need to flip. I don't need to take myself out of the play. He's clearly going to beat me to this ball. No question about it, he's going to beat me to this ball. So don't commit. It's fine. Rotate back. Get a little bump. Manflesh goes. So this one was good too. I think this is kind of an important talking point, is try to recognize when you're the 2-man and you're sort of going to be next to touch the ball. So important thing here is that Manflesh is coming in, and I can see that left is retreating. So I'm just knowing that I'm going to be the next one to touch this ball right after Manflesh. So I just assume that position. One thing that I think is important is when the ball is sort of in this position, do you feel that the ball is going to bounce like off the backboard or float high? Or do you feel that it's going to sort of scream across the net? Or what I like to say is, like, is the ball going to be hot? So is it hot coming across? If it's hot, you got to move. You got to get on your ass and get across, because Manflesh is going to rip this thing across or in some regard, and you got to be available to make that play. However, if you feel that the ball is going high, you should probably wait like here. This positioning is probably better because then you're in a position to make a play. So, like, think about it like this, right? Let's say we take like this view of the play. Let's say the ball jumps up and it's like here, like it's above the net, but it's like a high floater. Well, how are you gonna, just angle-wise, how are you gonna get that ball in the net? You're either gonna, if you come up from too shallow, you're gonna have to hit it off the backboard and double tap it and knock it in. And if you're a champ 2, you might be able to make that play. If you're Diamond, you might be able to make that play. I think it's lower percentage. Like Plat, like you're doing it because you got lucky, right? Or you need to be further back so that you can take an angle where your car is going to be able to hit the ball at an angle where it's going to go in, right? And I think sometimes we get too close when the ball is high. So if he runs this up the wall, there's no purpose for me to be here staring up at the ball. It's better for me to be here where I can jump and, you know, redirect and knock the ball in. So be mindful of situations when you think or you know that the ball is coming across hot, and be mindful of situations where you think the ball is going to float, because that is going to dictate your position as the two-man. In this position, based on how Manflesh is moving, I'm thinking this ball is coming across hot. So I get on my horse to get in position, and I just end up beating, the other guy to the ball. So keep that in mind as you're going through your games. And like I said, I don't think my mechanics are anything special. I don't think I've done anything super amazing in this game. So it's something that, might be helpful for you. So this, I think, is an important situation. I can clearly see that he's got some good momentum and I have boost. What I don't want to do is just play a 50 like blocking my net, because the worst case scenario, I think, in this position is like I park the ball and Merk Jones is there to clean it up and score. So what I'm trying to do here instead is purposely position this 50 where I'm hitting the side of the ball, and if he hits the front of the ball, it ricochets into our corner. So just keep that in mind as well. I can clearly see that he's trying to block this. I don't want to defend the net. I want to make sure that I hit the ball to a safe spot. So you can see when I take this 50, I'm trying to do so into the corner. I'm not trying to do it like from behind the net, if that makes sense. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I'm not taking a position here. Because if I take a position here and he parks it, I think that makes it easier for him to score. Granted, Manflesh is there, but just something to be mindful of. Instead, I want to take the 50 here so that the ball goes there. So something else just to think about as you're going through the situations. Here, I'm just trying to soft touch it to stay with it. Again, I think it's important. So I can't really see what's happening in front of me. I could have taken, ball cam, but I figured they were right there. But what I don't want to do is just flip, right? I just flip for no reason. I can just soft touch it, and that's going to keep it close enough to my car where I could potentially see what's happening. If I get dunked, I remember what just happened here. There's two guys behind me. I know that Manflesh is there. I trust that left is rotating and he's on back post at this point. So I don't even need to look. He's not there. I'm not even going to look. He's there. So what I'm going to do is just soft touch it. If I get dunked, so be it. But now I can see what happens. And now maybe I can dunk this guy, which is what ends up happening. And I can go grab the boost and kind of rotate out. So Manflesh hits. Good rotation from the boys. Manflesh with a good demo and rotate out. Left comes in. That again is our positioning where I'm looking to play the next touch after left. I'm expecting this to be a high ball, so it's exactly what we just said on the last scenario. So I'm keeping back a little bit further in my positioning so I can jump up and eventually play it. He ends up hitting this harder than I expected and a little bit flatter than I expected. So it ends up ricocheting back into the middle, so I can always move forward, right? I have full boost. I can always boost forward. It's a little bit harder for me to back up. So I stay back on purpose. I recognize the ball's going to be there. I just try to beat the goalie to the spot, and it ends up being a goal. So it ends up being a 5-1 victory. Pretty swell from the boys. We did a good job on this. What I'm going to do is post this video, and then I'm going to do the finals match, one of the finals matches where we won 5-0. I'll post that a little bit later in the week. So that way we're kind of breaking it up because this video is getting a little bit long, but hopefully you enjoy kind of an in-depth review on some of this stuff. If you have questions, comments, things of that nature, please drop it in the comments on YouTube or anything that you want to see. Please let me know. Other than that, we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.